When it comes to this week of astrology, it's pretty ordinary, pretty boring, pretty typical, nothing too much to report. Just, an Aquarius solar eclipse that is a faded foreshadow signaling where your shifts and our shifts will take place until 2028. And then this Friday, Saturn and Neptune conjoin in an alignment that has not occurred since 1989. And the two planets get together at a very potent pivotal degree, 0 degrees Aries. And these two planets have not gotten together at this degree for thousands and thousands of years. Nothing too much to report within your cosmic weather forecast. Just kidding. This is a massive week of astrology. If you cannot hear the sarcasm dripping in my voice, it is quite a week. And it is quite a week layered upon many other quite a weeks. So just know, if any of you are a little fatigued through living through all of these once in a lifetime astrological occurrences, just know that you are not the only one. If I, as your astro weather report individuals today, I'm like, okay, here's another week, I know that you all are feeling this as well. But it's very important how we view this, because on one hand, we could be like, why did I come here to experience all of these once in a lifetime astrological events? On the other hand, you can view it around, why did I come here to experience all of these once in a lifetime astrological events? And you know what? This week's astrology may give you some answers for that, around where it is that you are part of something so much bigger, where it is that you're a part of your community, where it is that you're a part of humanity altogether, and how it is that we are building our shared future. Because the significance of this week reverberates so beyond this week. So am I saying that every single person who's tuning into this forecast is going to experience all of these massive shakeups this particular week? Not necessarily. Some can, some may. You know how eclipses tend to roll. And if you don't know how eclipses roll, you have came to the right place, my friend. The right cosmic corner of the internet. We will get into it. It's not to say that all of our lives are being disrupted or turned over upside down. As I said, the eclipse that we have this Tuesday, the solar eclipse in Aquarius, is signaling what the upcoming North Node in Aquarius, South Node in Leo journey is going to have in store for us, which is a journey that shows up until 2028. It is the opening eclipse within this cycle, so there can be some hints and clues around what will build in significance as we move more and more through these eclipses. So there is an energy of this particular week where it's a bit of a time capsule, where things that feel very subtle or very typical or ordinary now may build into a much bigger story. So definitely pay attention what ideas come up, what events transpire, what news comes out. There is a significance to what is happening this week. Even if it does not feel to a surface level like it is life-changing, there is reverberations of this week that will continue to take us towards the future. This Friday, Saturn and Neptune will align at 0 degrees Aries. Now, I have a deep dive video on my channel that goes into it, the collective implications, what we've seen in history when these two planets get together, how we are currently experiencing this, as well as some future manifestations of how this energy can show up and how we as humanity need to hold the vibration of the highest possible octave for this to show up. That video takes a deep dive into it. But what I want to say here is that it is a new cycle that we're stepping into. Both the planets that are getting together, Saturn and Neptune, are early in their journey of Aries, so early to their journey in the Aries territory of your chart. And even as it relates to humanity, like I said, not one person alive currently has experienced Saturn and Neptune get together at 0 degrees Aries. The reason I'm noting that, because 0 degrees Aries is the genesis. 0 degrees Aries is the Big Bang. 0 degrees Aries is where it all begins. The zodiacal wheel all starts at 0 degrees Aries. It is a particular location of the sky, because when we talk about degrees, we're just talking about, you can think of it as coordinates in the cosmos. That is a particular degree that is rife with beginning, with initiation, with possibility and potential. It all begins at 0 degrees Aries. And so it's worthwhile to ask, what is beginning within my life? And what do I want to begin? What is the new cycle that we as humanity want to initiate? And I say that because the solar eclipse in Aquarius is about the we. It's about the people. It's about humanity and community all together. And recognizing that we need to arise for our own personal role in that with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And it's going to take courage to step into new timelines, to step into new opportunities, to step into new ways of being. And the Aries energy really asks us to step into our courage in order to help humanity and to build our shared future, the energy of the solar eclipse in Aquarius. And so when it comes to the astrology, from February 16th to February 22nd, 2026, no big deal, just saving the world, just getting massive downloads, having massive aha epiphanies, banding together with other individuals who are like-minded and like-souled in order to make a difference. No big deal. As we do every single week, I will support you in what you can expect day to day, because you might be like, Haley Comet, I've got a massive meeting on Wednesday. What is all of this giving for that? Or Haley Comet, I got to handle this. We will break down the practical implications of this astrology, where you may feel it, and true to Magic Monday, how you can co-create with it, how you can work with this astrology in order to turn your life into something magical, into something aligned. So if this is your first time in my cosmic corner of the internet and that feels up your alley, I would so love to welcome you to join here. These episodes are conjured every single Sunday, wherever it is that you stream podcasts, as well as on YouTube. So would love to have you join us in our little cosmic coffee date. But I will say, today in the Cosmic Cafe, it's really not cosmic coffee date. It's more so cosmic juice date. So let me know what you are sipping on to step into this week of astrology. What is even a beverage? I could pair it with an opening eclipse squaring Uranus and Saturn and Neptune getting together in Aries. I mean, what a week. But there is sweetness to be found. This week's astrology is bookended by Mercury in Pisces trining Jupiter in Cancer, and then Venus in Pisces trining Jupiter in Cancer. Venus and Jupiter are both in their exaltation, and this speaks to overflow of love, of compassion, of really sweetness. And so while through some of these changes and the disillusionment of Saturn and Neptune, humanity's worst impulses and aspects can be on full display, while change can be incredibly disruptive, while there can be certain things that are shifting that used to feel very solid that make you feel destabilized altogether. It's important to remain sweet yourself, to remain loving yourself, as well as to remain open to sweetness and loving, and where it is that we can work together and be kind to one another, pay genuine compliments with Mercury trining Jupiter, buy gifts or donate with Venus trine Jupiter, just spend time with someone that you love as your presence is a gift. So how I'm stepping into that sweetness energy this week is with one of my favorite beverages in the world. This is liquid gold. I'm not kidding. That's how I feel every time I make this. This is my go-to Comet signature juice. What it contains is purple cabbage and pineapple. This is the juice that I always come back to. It just makes me feel like I am sparkling and glowing from the inside out. And it's not even anything aesthetic. I just feel glowy. I feel radiant. I feel sweet. And when you feel good, the natural desire is that you want to pour that out into others, which I just feel like is necessary this week with Mercury trining Jupiter, Venus trining Jupiter, amidst all of these chaotic cosmic events. So let me know what you are sipping on to start this week. And so in the name of togetherness, I would love to invite you to my birthday party. This week we do step into Pisces season. And with Jupiter in Cancer transiting my 11th house, it feels only right to celebrate my solar return with you all. If you were able to join, we are doing a birthday live stream on Wednesday, February 25th. It will be at 12 p.m. PST. So please adjust to your time zone. I would so love to connect with you all. Grab a little beverage, grab a juice, grab a sparkling water, grab a coffee. Let's connect. The live stream will be held here on YouTube as well as on TikTok. This is the tradition that we do when it comes to my business's birthday party. We have that every October 1st. That's the day that I started my business. So I'd love to have you there. I always have so much fun during our live streams, and I always have so much fun connecting with you all. So come, we're going to do some astrology games and all sorts of fun things. I would so love to have you there. It's important in times like these, especially with this Aquarius solar eclipse, to lean on one another, to come together, to support one another, even if that's just via a live stream, just knowing that you are part of something bigger than yourself, to feel connected to other humans, because we're all under the same sky. Moving through all of this major astrology together. So I would so love to see you. I'll remind you again next week. Just wanted to let you know to save your calendar if you want to be there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into Vibe Check of the Week. So welcome to Vibe Check of the Week, a segment here on Magic Monday where we liken this week of astrology and every week of astrology to a real life scenario. It's not me saying that this exact situation will play out, but if you tune into some of the themes, the vibes, the dynamics of it, you may see similar ones surface as you navigate this week and as you navigate this once in a lifetime astrology. And so this week's vibe check feels like a spiritual awakening. It feels like a deconstruction of everything that you thought this experience was and an uncovering of everything it actually is. And furthermore, who you actually are. So that's quite a bit. Right? So let's give it some nuance. We will say that you have been a fitness instructor at a studio for some time. We'll say you are a cycling instructor. And what has kept you there beyond the wicked workouts and feeling strong and empowered? What has really kept you there is the people, is the community. Knowing that every single Sunday when you go to class, you know, Joe, your regular, is going to be front row. You feel so inspired watching your students try and show up messily and get better and feel stronger. You love watching the journey when individuals push past their own limits and experience more of their strength, experience more of the potential by doing something, challenging themselves, changing themselves. Like that is what keeps you on the bike, keeps you cycling, keeps you yelling, keeps you turning the music up, is the community of it. And we will say that one of your regulars tips you off to some information about your studio's management, which granted, there has been a bit of a disconnect feeling. Again, the people is why you are there. You are not getting paid appropriately for your level of expertise and experience and for the high numbers of students that you draw to your classes. They used to offer unlimited membership to instructors, and now it's gone down to 4 classes a month. There's been certain decisions that management has made around navigating certain issues that you personally do not align with or stand behind. But this particular information that you are tipped off on does not sit well at all with you. You know, you've been feeling the disconnect where it just seems like management is just money hungry, just seeking to get as much money from your students as possible and as much labor from you without adequately paying you for said labor. But this particular information you cannot stand by. And so you do your due diligence. You know that Mercury is in its pre-retrograde shadow and that it stations retrograde next week. You know that there's an eclipse squaring Uranus, which can be a time we feel more restless and reckless. So you strive not to jump to conclusions right away. You do your due diligence. And when you research, when you look into it, you see that what your student told you is absolutely the truth. And that does not align with you. And then you're sat with this energy around, what do I do? What do I do about this? I cannot continue to teach under this leadership, but I also feel like I have to do something about this. And so you decide to band together your instructors to protest, to essentially strike against management in order for this to change. And a lot of students actually join with this protest and the strike, pausing and freezing their membership, standing behind you all. And even though there is a disturbance, a disruption, it would be a lot easier to just remain complacent, remain cycling, remain shouting and just avoiding this egregious reality that has come to the surface. You know that you have a part to play in your own future, in the studio's future, and you believe in your community. And you know they deserve more. They deserve more than this experience. And it's not going to send the message just you quitting. You know that something must be done. And even though it's disruptive, you feel so much love in that room when you are standing with your fellow instructors and the students all together joining forces alike, just feeling the love and the support and the humanity and the community that is alive within that room, and believing in a vision that the studio can be something beautiful, believing in a world where change can exist, believing in a world where fitness studios can exist as this sort of utopia. This perfect world, which I know, obviously, does perfection exist? It does not. But it's important for all of us to believe in how things can be in order to fight for how things can be. Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And yeah, there are themes of disillusionment alive currently. Like with Saturn on Neptune, it sort of reality checks the dream of it all, where there was so much within you when you were first setting out in your cycling career, pedaling your first couple pedals. You had so many dreams around what this career would look like to be an instructor. You believed in the studio. That's why you work for them. And to have the rose-colored glasses stripped away and to see this organization, these people for what they are, is sobering, to say the least. And humanity is kind of in this collective sobering with Saturn on Neptune, where whether it's showing up to an individual level or collective level, there can be an element around seeing through the fog, really. Like Neptune energy could be the fog, the smoke screen. And with Saturn energy, it's like seeing what was really there all along, the raw truth of it, the Aries truth of it. And when you are exposed to that sort of sobering reality check, there is a choice point around we can either bury our head in the sand and act like management has your best interests at heart, your community's best interests at heart, when you know deep down that is not the case. You can give up on the community altogether, give up on cycling altogether, give up on this passion altogether, or you can say, okay, now that I see how things are, that gives me a solid foundation to build how things could be. There is an element where it's going to be so important this week and beyond. Like I said, this is just a microcosm of a big picture story that we're all co-creating together. It's going to be important to hold the vision around how things can be. And beyond that, working to make that a reality, taking personal agency. It's important to know that within the vibe check, you made it happen. You organized it. The energy of Aries, sometimes we can be impatient, but sometimes we have to be a little impatient. It's like, I'm sick of waiting for somebody else in my neighborhood to pick up this litter. I've got to organize a litter cleanup. Or I am so sick of waiting on these people to give me what I want. I've got to go out and make it happen for myself. It really is the energy around if you want something done right, you've got to do it yourself. With the energy of Aries. And if you want to bring your dreams to reality, there is a personal responsibility to it with the energy of Saturn. This solar eclipse squaring Uranus in Taurus was the energy of like the protest, the strike. Aquarius Solar Eclipse banding together, working together, dialing into the power in numbers, the power in community is going to be so key. This eclipse and beyond. So we will go deeper into this week's vibe check, all of this astrology within our day-by-day analysis. I just want to remind you that I'm located in California. So with that being said, when I mention a time in my weekly forecast, I am referring to PST, Pacific time zone. So please adjust to your time zone if you are located elsewhere in the world. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into the astrology for Monday, February 16th. I want to also note that our juice did not even make it past vibe check. I told you it's delicious. It is truly liquid gold. On Monday, February 16th at 1:31 p.m., Mercury in Pisces trines Jupiter in Cancer, which is a deep dive. And I mean deep dive. Mercury and Jupiter are aligning into water signs. So this is you being swept away by a certain topic, diving deep into a certain book, or even feeling your mind get carried away by the waves of your own fantasies and ideas. It's important to note that Mercury is currently transiting a sign that it does not favor, Pisces. And because of that, it's a little disjointed. Pisces is represented by the fish. And fish, when they're swimming, they're not very orderly. They don't really always go in a straight line, or their way of swimming doesn't always make sense. Mercury likes things that make sense around, if you want to go there, just go right there. Whereas Mercury and Pisces is a little like, let me swim over here. Let me swim over here. Let me swim over there. Oh, let's look at the coral. And you can feel that within your mind, getting carried away, swept away, whether it's by conversations on your phone, ideas online, even just deep diving into certain topics and research and studies. Sometimes you gotta let the wave take you if you are intrigued or captivated by a certain topic. This could be deep diving into a special interest of astrology, of human design. This could be getting swept away by deep diving into a certain subreddit or deep diving into a certain interview, something that, yes, might have been a detour from where you thought your day was going to go, but it's not necessarily a waste of time. To accumulate this sort of information or to take this particular deep dive, your mind could feel very open to absorb all sorts of information, all sorts of topics, potentially of a very spiritual nature with Mercury and Pisces. Some of you could take a deep dive into astrology, like notice something within your chart around, whoa, I didn't know this fixed star was right on my Mars. Mind blown. You know, no matter how much you work with your chart, sometimes there's just elements of it that catch you by surprise. You know, I've said this to many clients, and I know I probably sound bonkers when I say this, but if you read charts, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. I will meet with clients, like the same client that I've met with many times over. And sometimes in sitting down with them, a certain part of their chart will like glow at me. I'm not kidding. I know I sound wild, but there will be a particular aspect that I'm like, I need to bring this up with you. I don't know why it's sticking out so strongly to me. Or within my chart, sometimes I'll look at it in a particular part. I'm like, I need to deep dive into this for some reason. It's glowing. And it's important to let intuition guide. You know, that's another reason why Mercury doesn't necessarily like to be in Pisces, because it doesn't make sense. It's like Haley Comet. You know that chart is not glowing at you. Like, that's not practical. It's just pixels. Like, there's no way a birth chart could glow at you or a particular aspect could stick out to you if you've looked at this chart over and over again. But there's so much about this experience that transcends the mind and transcends what makes sense. And sometimes you have to honor it's just another information source. Because what I've found when I have trusted my own intuition enough to say, hey, this aspect is sticking out, and we talk about that particular part of the chart, the other individual always is like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense because of this that I'm dealing with right now. I just had this conversation earlier today, or something like this, where it helps sometimes cut through the noise when we trust our own intuition, allow ourselves to be guided by it, even if it feels like a detour. So my encouragement today would be honor those random pings where it's like, oh, I need to deep dive into that particular band, or I need to look at the lyrics of this particular song that's sticking out to me, or I should text this person this thing. Again, your mind will be like, oh, that doesn't make sense. It's not rational. It's not logical. But sometimes with Mercury and Pisces, what feels random, illogical, like you are distracted and having a detour, is sometimes just you pulling from a different informational source and allowing yourself to pull from it, even if it does not make sense. Like, I just think intuition is just another skill that we have at our disposal, which every single person has at their disposal to leverage. And it's important how it is that you trust yourself as a conduit, as well as not feel like it needs to make sense right now. And sometimes you take a deep dive into a topic that doesn't feel necessarily relevant or applicable right now, but then later, when that special interest of yours becomes very relevant, or you're able to pull information from that deep dive into something else, or you reference it within a research paper, you're like, oh, there's a reason why I had that detour, why my mind was pulled in that direction. So the encouragement today is allowing your mind to be absorbed by different topics without getting utterly swept away or adrift, especially if there are certain things that you need to handle today, that you need to get done today. This can be a very captivating, interesting day, but it's not going to go in the way that you thought it was going to go, is what I would say here. And so if you have the space to fantasize, to drift, to envision, to dream, to deep dive into a certain topic, or to deep dive into a conversation with another, can also be powerful here. To ask the question that kind of pierces below what it is that we experience as normal day-to-day life. Now, I will highlight to a very practical level, tomorrow is also the Lunar New Year. So from that lens, which again is not a specialty of mine, but I will just note, today is the final day of the Year of the Snake. Tomorrow begins Year of the Horse. And even from a Western astrological standpoint, this is the end and tomorrow is a beginning, just from a different viewpoint, because tomorrow is a solar eclipse, which is a new moon eclipse, and it's on the north node. So it is thrusting us and guiding us forward. And a lot of times before a new moon is like, and again, a solar eclipse is like a new moon amplified. Even more so, there is a focus around shedding and releasing and letting go. Sometimes we even just feel exhausted and drained. You know, when it comes to eclipses, everything is turned up a notch as it relates to humanity, as it relates to people altogether. Emotions are amplified and decisions are heightened and anxiety is heightened. It's important to note that last night We had Sun square Uranus. That's also pulled into tomorrow's eclipse. So you could feel on edge. And maybe the Mercury trine Jupiter energy is you having a conversation with someone who soothes you, deep diving into topics that allow you to feel held even amidst anxiety, or like your comfort person in some sort of way. Or it could be you deep diving into comfort topics, your comfort special interest that you like to go into. Hey, we all have one. There's certain things where it's like, this is just something that's kind of removed from my daily life, but I just love to deep dive into it and get lost in it. Like there could be a desire to do that because there's this pronounced feeling of anxiety in the air with the Sun squaring Uranus energy that's also pulled into tomorrow's eclipse. So my encouragement today would be very gentle with yourself if you feel exhausted, if you feel very drained, or even you're inclined to release things, if you're inclined to let things go, if you are craving release. From the snake perspective, this cycle was a lot around letting go and shedding. And so it's really contemplating as we step into this new cycle, what are you not taking with you? And I want to just illuminate that this was woven into Vibe Check of the Week around the deep diving into the information that was given. My encouragement with this astrology is to do your due diligence, like get to the bottom of something, because Mercury retrograde in Pisces can be a little foggy. It can be a little confusing. And so it's not the time to jump to action right away. Sometimes a square to Uranus can make us restless and we just want to rebel and lash out. But like with Mercury trining Jupiter, collect receipts, collect data, collect information. Another thing not to rush at this time is clarity. Sometimes we don't get clarity around, why am I deep diving into this particular topic? Sometimes you are learning about something in order to prepare a future version of self. Time is a very linear concept, and Mercury in Pisces is anything but. So sometimes you're learning about something now that you will pull from in 3 years' time, or sometimes you're learning about something now that will create a full circle moment in 10 years' time, or you're learning about something now that clicks into place what you went through 5 years ago. Sometimes things are not always clear why our mind is being pulled in a certain direction, or why certain information is being prompted towards us, why you are so drawn to this book. Sometimes even like TV series, music, like there's messages everywhere. And so it's not feeling like it needs to make sense right now. It's just noticing it. Oh, that's interesting. I deep dove into this particular topic today. Oh, that's interesting. I had this conversation today. My encouragement would be to write it all down, journal it down. Mercury in Pisces, trine Jupiter in Cancer is giving like goated journal day, like the best day to journal ever. So great day to journal what you've learned this past year. And my encouragement as it relates to journaling, don't feel like it needs to make sense. Don't feel like it needs to be structured. Let yourself write a haiku about this year. Let it be a sonnet. Let it just be random words that encapsulate what you went through. Sometimes there's interesting ahas that can be pulled when you stop trying to make things make sense right away or forcing clarity. Clarity will come. I always mention this when it comes to Neptune transits, but it just feels very relevant, especially with Saturn aligning with Neptune later on this week, is that Neptune is a very watery influence, right? And when we have Neptune transits, either collectively or individually, it's a bit like when you're in the water and you kick up all the sand with your feet and everything gets cloudy. Sometimes Neptune energy could be so confusing and it's like, I don't see to the bottom. Like I don't see clearly. Everything got so cloudy. And Neptune energy often makes things settle. And it's taking that moment to let things settle. It's not that we're being complacent or not taking action. Within the vibe check, we did. We organized with our fellow instructors and students, but it's just waiting for that moment of some clarity or to do research or just even to observe what comes up without feeling like we have to put it into a box around this is good or this is bad. A reason that I said the opener in the way that I did around making it just seem really like nonchalant is that we are in Aquarius season, which can be a sign that is more detached, is more logical. Is that so? Okay, that's interesting. That's coming up. And it's important to kind of leverage that perspective so that we don't feel this now or never energy or this latch out energy, this reckless energy that sometimes the square to Uranus can prompt. So today, the moon is in Aquarius all day long as we prepare for the solar eclipse in Aquarius, which lands tomorrow around 4 a.m. The moon does align with Mars at 10 a.m. So if you are feeling any of this like anxious energy, move your body. I'm not kidding. Move your body. It's going to be important. Feel alive. That's going to be important with Saturn and Neptune getting together in Aries in this new cycle that we're stepping into. But it also can be helpful as it relates to our mental health. It can be so helpful as it relates to anxiety or stress relief. Take a cycling class, like in the vibe check, just to make sure that the management is not trash would be my guidance. And the Aquarius moon does sextile Chiron that evening at 6:20 p.m. PST, which can just be the healing power that comes from community and togetherness in whichever way. Even if you don't have a fitness studio that you are banded together with, or an online community that you're banded with, or a strong friend group, it's important to find and celebrate community in every form that it shows up. With Mercury trining Jupiter, today would be a really lovely day to give a compliment. If something comes over you where you want to give a compliment, give a genuine compliment. Look someone in the eyes. Tell them that you love their outfit or that they're so kind. You never know what hell other people are navigating and how your words can really make their day. And I'm even getting like a random compliment, like something where it's like, this is so random, but I just have to tell you, like, you just never know the sunshine that you bring to someone's day. On Tuesday, February 17th, happy Lunar New Year, happy Mardi Gras, and happy solar eclipse in Aquarius. Squaring Uranus. Happy doesn't feel like exactly the right word that I want to put in front of that, but it's happening. It's happening today. I do want to remind you, I did a deep dive into this very eclipse that we are experiencing on this fateful February 17th, 2026. You can check that out within the description. We break down the collective implications, sign by sign indications as it relates to your chart and thus your life. Make sure to check that out. But what you need to know here about this eclipse is that it lands at 28 degrees Aquarius. So wherever within your chart you have 28 degrees Aquarius is likely where there are shifts and changes taking place. And like I said, sometimes eclipses speak to us in terms of these massive overhauls, and sometimes it's subtle. So it's just observing what is coming up at this particular time. And with this North Node, where it's guiding you, North Node is around material gain. It is around growth. It's a very ravenous influence North Node is. And so when we have eclipses on the North Node, like ultimately there is something to be grown here. There is something to gain here, but it's important to know that even if something is a big picture gain, like something that to a big picture will be beneficial for ourselves or for humanity altogether, that does not make it easy. That does not make it peaceful. That does not make it seamless. And you've got to stay committed and connected to the bigger picture. You got to step out of it. Because tomorrow we enter into Pisces season. So Aquarius and Pisces are the two final signs of the zodiacal wheel. The zodiacal journey from Aries to Pisces is from self to not self. And what I mean by that is that Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, is where we connect to spirit, connect to soul, connect to something bigger and more profound than ourselves. And it takes recognizing that, yes, we are individuals. Saturn and Neptune is recognizing the unique facets of your gifts, your talents, your abilities. So it's recognizing, I was designed intelligently and intentionally. We talked about this in last week's episode, but it's also remembering that it's bigger than you and it's bigger than this moment. It's going to be important to step out of it. Like Aquarius represents essentially where self dissolves into community, into humanity. And then Pisces represents where self dissolves into spirit and soul. And so there's a need at this time to kind of leverage a little bit of that nonchalant energy around, okay, it's a solar eclipse in Aquarius, squaring Uranus, massive new changes for humanity. Let's do this. Like, to strive to step out of it, because if we make it really personal and really panicky around, why is this happening right now? And what's going to happen? It's really going to drain out our power and our potency that we really need right now with Saturn and Neptune. So it's just going to be important to step out of it and recognize that sometimes we feel like this moment is going to last forever. Sometimes we feel like this era of our life is going to continue on. Sometimes we feel like this is the worst thing and the rest of our life is going to be doomed. It's going to be important to take a step out of it. This too shall pass. This will not last forever, as well as connecting with other humans and feeling the power from them. We'll say in the vibe check that while you are passionate around wanting to see this difference at this studio, there are moments moments when our strength falters. There's moments that we panic. There's moments that we feel anxious. But sometimes when we band with others, they're strong where we're weak. And then when we're feeling strong, we can empower other people. Like, we are more powerful together, because it's impossible for all of us to feel 100% capable, competent, and confident at every particular moment in time. And that's where we lean on others. We can pull strength from others. We can empower others. We can all build together, rise together. And sometimes it helps you recognize around, gosh, this is scary putting myself on the line, but I feel so much more powerful knowing that other instructors back me and other students back me. Like, the power as it relates to community can be so helpful as it relates to any sort of change that is occurring. You know, this particular eclipse squares Uranus and Taurus. And it's interesting because Uranus and Taurus is a journey that is coming to a close in 2.5-ish months' time. Uranus will shift into Gemini, where it remains until 2033. And so we are also looking at where we've been. You know, Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, as we get kind of this snapshot into where we're going. Because Aquarius is the sign of the future. And again, it's on the North Node. So it is kind of a launch forward to the future. If I were to liken this eclipse into one singular image, it's like, if you've watched the show That's So Raven, the main character, Raven Baxter, is a psychic. She gets these random visions that come in, but they're random. She can't control it. Like, that's a square to Uranus energy. And it will be essentially what will transpire within the future. And that's what this feels like. I mean, some individuals can just have this moment where you just recognize, oh, this is going to be significant, or, oh, this is going to change my life, or, oh, I'm stepping into something, or even just a strong pulling, even if your physical reality doesn't align with that just yet. And again, it could show up personally or just like collectively around, what if it's possible to have a studio of this and this? And again, it's recognizing everything that has gotten you here with the square to Uranus and where change has been looming and building and occurring, really, with Uranus and Taurus. But also that's launching you forward, launching you onward, individually, collectively. And it's scary sometimes to change or to have things disrupted. And that's where the power of community can be very potent as well. And, you know, today marks beginning of Year of the Horse, which is quick, fiery energy, square to Uranus plus eclipse season energy altogether can sometimes make us feel like now or never. We need to be reckless or restless. Like, when this information comes in, be so mad that you just run through the lobby of the studio screaming. In the vibe check, sometimes you need that energy around doing your due diligence with Mercury trining Jupiter, letting things settle with Saturn and Neptune aligning, and then banding together with others. That's the energy of Aquarius in order to make change happen. Because Aquarius is a very smart sign, and there is a need at this time to be strategic. Even if you get a glimpse, you get a That's So Raven download around, ooh, that's where my future is going. It's not that you need to drop everything now and go towards it. You know, sometimes if we get what we desired when we asked for it, we would not be ready for it. And so sometimes you get a glimpse of something that's going to be potent or powerful for your future, but that's when you get to work around building that or making that happen. Or I have a vision of a cycling studio that we could all exist in, or I have a vision of something that I want to build for my life, of something that I want to lead up, of something that I want to make happen. And it's my belief, even if we do get this download or this feeling around where our future is going, where humanity's future is going, my personal thought of it is that the future is not set in stone. I do believe certain things are fated to occur. Eclipses are a very fated alignment. So a lot of us could be experiencing things that are fated, that are meant to happen, that are meant to launch us forward. But I do believe the future is ours to build. And even if that is not a belief of yours, you can borrow my belief this week here. Just bring it back next week, because Saturn Neptune asks us to take a level of personal agency. And sometimes if we feel like, oh, it's set in stone, that's my fate, that's my destiny, we're like, it'll just align for me. To a certain extent, what is meant for you will not pass you. But Saturn Neptune in Aries is really wanting you to take the reins as it relates to your own destiny, as it relates to your own fate, and making that happen. You got a glimpse with the energy of the Aquarius Solar Eclipse, and now you're going after it with the energy of Saturn Neptune in Aries later on this week. Just because you get a certain glimpse of what could happen does not mean that it's necessarily set in stone. And sometimes we get a glimpse of something that we don't want humanity to go down, and that's where we have the power to shift it. with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, to be courageous enough to take a stand or to make a difference in some sort of way. And after the solar eclipse aligns at around 4:01 a.m. PST, the moon will enter Pisces around 6:09 a.m. PST, which is dreamy, which is sensitive, which is emotional. Again, take care of yourself. Eclipses tend to really heighten emotions, and it's just going to be important to come back to the bigger picture, come back to your own connection as a soul. On Wednesday, February 18th, today at 7:52 a.m. PST, we enter Pisces season. Happy Pisces season. I have lit another incense and grabbed a new beverage to celebrate and to commemorate. This is the incense. P.S. It says Mystical Nights, and it has some sort of fairy woman on it. It was giving Pisces. To me, it was giving Pisces. I want to wish us all a magical, mystical Pisces season, especially my fellow Pisces. How exciting that we get to go through a Pisces season without Saturn in our sign and without Neptune in our sign. What a time to be alive. What a time to be a Pisces. So I'm hoping that all of my fellow Pisces out there have some wonderful birthday plans. I am so appreciative of your kindness, of your compassion, of your empathy, of your ability to see yourself in shades of what other people go through, even if the details and nuances are different. I adore you all for your ability to dream and to envision new ideas and new worlds. I think that's going to be very important with this new cycle that we are stepping into. And I hope that you have a wonderful solar return. And even though we are in a lunar new year that kicked off yesterday, we're in Year of the Horse. In tropical astrology, the new year begins when the sun enters Aries, which occurs next month. So Pisces is the end of the astrological year. And due to that, every sign compounds or builds on the one prior, which is why Pisces is so empathetic. They genuinely see themselves in other people's experiences, even if the details are different. Mercury is all around the details, and Pisces opposite sign, Virgo, is all around the details. Pisces energy around, we grew up in different places, we experience these things in different arenas, but I see you, I am you, I get it, I feel you. Even if the details are different, I can empathize with what you went through. I relate to parts of it. I see parts of myself within. And I think that quality, that compassionate quality, is going to be necessary to understand other humans, to work with other individuals, to band with other individuals. I will say that Pisces energy can sometimes make us a little loosey-goosey when it comes to boundaries or bounds. And there can be a profound desire to want to disconnect from it all. Like I said, these signs are around stepping out of our own experience to look at the bigger picture. But sometimes there's this desire to escape from everything, to swim away from everything. Like, this is an energy that can be incredibly escapist. And so it's being mindful of that, because the energy of Aries does require us to be present. And it is helpful, if anything, for self-preservation, to swim into our own inner world, to have our own world of books and topics that we retreat to that gives us strength. Life is harsh and it's cruel and it's hard. And having your own little world of hobbies and dreams and ideas can be a very helpful place to be. That's why Pisces energy have such a rich inner world, because oftentimes this world disappointed us so much that we had to go off and create our own one, which can be helpful if we take elements of that and implement it into this world. It can get very fragmented and disjointed when we escape and run from this world into our own inner world, or even just give up. Aries energy is around warrior consciousness. And so being willing to fight for the change that you want to see, being willing to fight to bring your dreams to reality is also key here. And, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. With Saturn and Aries, we talked about that last week. And in order for this to be a sustainable marathon, we do need moments of resting, rejuvenating, returning to our own world, praying, meditating, pondering, going to the beach and looking out at the ocean, getting lost in a fantasy book, laughing and talking nonsense with a friend. Like, these are all helpful things to not feel soul fatigued and soul tired, because this plane is dense, and Pisces energy brings to the forefront our soul and just how sensitive we are, how deeply we feel. And this life can be grating with its harshness. And we need those moments, those books, those deep dives into various topics, those hangs with friends in order to sustain ourselves, in order to keep going. And dreaming can be very productive. Sometimes those down downtime, that time laughing or just staring at a tree and doing nothing. Sometimes that's where genius ideas come in, because the universe, God, can't deliver us those "that's so Raven" bolts of clarity or insight if we are always doing, going, or reacting to everything right away. We need that moment of stillness. And Pisces energy can be the productive nature of meandering and moodling and pondering and daydreaming, really. I always joke that the most important job I ever had was being a lifeguard at a pool that nobody went to. And you might say, oh, Haley Comet, because you saved so many people. No, I never got in the water because no one ever went in this pool. And so it was just hours upon hours of me staring at an empty pool. But it was the most important job that I ever had because I would look at the water and I would think about how I wanted my life to go. I was doing nothing, but spiritually, I was building the blocks of how I wanted my life to go. And when I say everything that I envisioned came to pass, it was sort of trippy. And it really made me realize how productive it is to dream. I would see how I wanted my life to go played out as though it were a movie. And just because I saw it doesn't mean that I was like, okay, now that'll come to pass. Like, I got to work. Saturn and Neptune Aries is asking us to get to work to bring that to reality. But it's so trippy how what I envision came into existence. And it was so productive for me to have those kind of building blocks or to manifest or to invite it into being, because I really decided how I wanted my life to go or what I wanted to build, what I wanted to create, knowing that it was mine to build, mine to create all together. But that space of being a little bit more still or reflective or passive helped me envision, helped me create, which again, was I the painter of those visions? Was spirit giving me glimpses of what would come to pass? Who knows? Things get a little murky and confusing with Pisces energy, but dream. Doing nothing can be very productive. Sit in a park and envision how you want things to go. Before you go to sleep, envision what you want to come into your reality. You'd be surprised. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Because there is an energy of boundary blurring between reality and spirit this week, just with Saturn and Neptune getting together. This can be an energy around having a vision and having the wherewithal, the gumption, and the endurance to make it happen. That was so strange. I swear when I'm filming, sometimes the weirdest words come through that I'm like, girly girl, when's the last time you used the word gumption? Where did that come from? Saturn and Neptune is coming in with the gumption this Friday. And Pisces energy is recognizing how things that we think of as very separate are not always so separate. And so it's like, am I the creator or am I the created? Things get a little murky. And so Pisces energy asks us to celebrate the murkiness and the boundary blurring and the co-creation and the envisioning, knowing that this is a very sensitive time of year. You could cry at everything. You could feel your pain and feel humanity's pain. It's going to be important to have the rituals that help you cleanse and clear. I strongly feel every time I film Magic Monday that the circumstances of my filming oftentimes reflect the astrology that I'm speaking on. And I had to light a new incense for this part just because things feel dense. We're in eclipse season. It's heavy. It's intense. Our stuff and other people's stuff and just being a human altogether is heavy. So it's going to be important to cloak, shield, and cleanse your aura, to burn your incense, to take your baths, to spend time with animals, to spend time in nature, whatever helps you reset, because Pisces energy feels everything so very deeply, and we're all stepping into this energy of feeling more sensitive. I will also note on the topic of the circumstances my filming reflects in the astrology, Alex knows because I've likely complained about it 20 or so times. I've been so exhausted filming this Magic Monday. That's why I had to go grab this little cola. By the way, how cute is this little can? I wish all sodas were this size. It's just perfect. But I had to go grab that because I've just felt so exhausted filming this. And I feel like parts of that are reflected within this astrology, like especially before the solar eclipse, we could just feel tired. And sometimes it's like physically tired, life is a lot, but sometimes it's like soul tired. And Pisces energy wants you to take care of your soul. And so at 10:31 a.m., the Pisces moon will trine Jupiter in Cancer. And then at around 3:09, the Pisces moon aligns with Mercury. So if you get a random nudge to text someone, to give a compliment, as we talked about earlier, to write down a certain idea, answer it. Pisces energy celebrates clairvoyance and psychic abilities. And you don't need to be Raven Baxter, okay, to be psychic. Every single individual on this plane is intuitive. Every single person. It's just whether you trust yourself as a conduit and whether you work the muscle, because there are things to do to strengthen the muscle of your own intuition. And so when you start to see proof that reflects the information you're pulling from, you start to trust it more. You start to really honor that this is a legitimate source of information that you're pulling from. And so my encouragement today would be follow your nudges, follow the little bits of inspiration, follow your instincts, especially with Saturn Neptune getting together later this week. On Thursday, February 19th, I want to highlight that the Pisces moon will sextile Uranus and Taurus a little bit before 8 a.m. And then the moon is void for a couple hours on Thursday morning. So like I said yesterday, you could be feeling a little tired, sleepy. Pisces energy brings us energy around what's real sort of vibe. And then the moon enters Aries at 11:39 a.m., promptly aligning with Saturn and Neptune midday, just before 1 p.m., who are both building to their conjunction tomorrow. That energy is absolutely alive right now with the moon activating it. And here is my take on eclipses, is that I personally don't love working with eclipses to interfere with fate. Like I said, if you want to passively look at a pool and envision how you'd like your life to go and leverage the building blocks, if you want to drift to sleep as you envision how you want things to be, by all means, go ahead. But I would not feel like you have to do all sorts of crazy rituals in order to harness the power of this solar eclipse this week. Let the solar eclipse. What is coming into alignment is fated, is destined, is bigger than us. So there's no need to rush or force. Let things play out. Don't have any FOMO around, oh my gosh, there's this massive news cycle. I need to manifest and do all of these things in order to make it happen. Allow yourself to be a participant within your fate around recognizing what ideas are calling to you, where it is that you are feeling guided or inspired, where it is that you feel motivated to take action from that space, but don't feel like you need to force things, push things. Quite the contrary, my friend. What I will say is that life needs to continue on. Life doesn't stop for once in a lifetime astrology. And so this would be the sort of astrology to follow your instincts. If you get a certain nudge where you're like, I want to take my kids to the park after I pick them up, or if you get a certain nudge around, I want to circle back to this person and see if they want to get together. With Saturn, Neptune, Aries, it's going to be important to follow our instincts, knowing that our instincts are given to us from the divine. Pisces and Aries are right next to each other. Even though Aries is the first sign of the zodiac and Pisces the final sign, they are neighbors in the cosmos. And sometimes our gut instincts, or even our courage, our boldness, our bravery is chiseled from the divine or chiseled from our spiritual connection. So honoring that, but also not feeling like you need to force or rush your destiny. Like sometimes we get certain glimpses. We look at a pool and we see how we want our life to go, or we fall asleep and we get a certain idea that may be impactful for the years to come, especially knowing it's happening in the eclipse window right now. But it's not feeling like it needs to happen overnight. It's being game for the work in order to build that into reality. And so midday, you could feel a little drained. You could feel a little exhausted. You could feel a little heavied, or like you have a lot of responsibility on you. And not all of the responsibility is yours to carry. It's going to be important at this time to define not me, not mine. Aries has a lot to do with identity, I am energy, and sometimes people will project us to be something that we are not, or give us things that are not ours to handle. And Saturn and Neptune could be this energy around, you have the wrong idea about me, that is not me, or you seem to think that this is for me to handle, not me. Like if we do not define ourselves, we outsource our definition into other people's hands and mouths, and they have no business naming you, defining you. The Aries moon will sextile Pluto in Aquarius that evening at 7 p.m., which is around resilience, courage, power. On Friday, February 20th at 8:53 a.m. PST, Saturn in Aries aligns with Neptune in Aries at 0 degrees Aries, the degree that it all begins. So the question I ask you, what is beginning within your life? What are you initiating within your life? Again, Aries energy emphasizes agency, autonomy, self-sufficiency. If it is to be, it is up to me. That's Aries energy. And if your dreams are to be made manifest, it is up to you. To have a certain calling, to have a certain purpose, to have a certain vision is a responsibility. And Saturn and Neptune is being open to the responsibility it takes to have a vision, to have a dream, to bring it into existence, knowing that it takes courage. We're going where humanity has not gone before. With Saturn Neptune aligning at 0 degrees Aries, we're moving into uncharted territory, which is scary. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac because it's the first to chart the uncharted territory energy. And we're stepping into the unknown. And again, I talk about this deeply in the Saturn conjunct Neptune all signs video, which is live on my channel. But what's important is to know that with this and the Aquarius Solar Eclipse squaring Uranus, there's no going back. There's truly no going back. We don't have any frame of reference around what we want things to look like. There's only moving forward. There's only envisioning new ideas and new ways of doing things. There's only new results. And a lot of times we want to go backwards because we recognize it there. But the energy of Saturn Neptune in Aries is only moving forward, even if it's unknown. Maybe it won't be what it was, but maybe it'll be even better. Who genuinely wants to go back at any point in time? Like, obviously, it's really intense to be alive during this time. We're seeing so many atrocities on such a grand scale. We're seeing the bleakest side of capitalism take over and interfere with so many of our daily lives. It's an intense time to be alive. But when we step back in any other point in time, there's not one point in time that I personally would want to return back to. There was atrocities occurring on many different levels, and it's moving towards that idea of utopia that, yes, is a little Neptune, like Saturn energy is kind of reality checking the Neptune around. Could it be possible to be selfless and compassionate and all work together? Could it be possible to live in utopia where we all live in harmony and it's all love and light? Who knows? But it's worth fighting for. It's worth striving for. It's worth advocating for. And that's the energy of this. I also want to highlight a lot of individuals could feel very disillusioned about what they were told and sold. Saturn is in its fall in Aries. So it does erode some of these themes of Saturn around tradition and structure, which is why within the vibe check, there's this energy around this is management. They're supposed to lead, yet they're being selfish. They're being self-centered. They're taking certain shortcuts. And even I had a certain idea of who they were, but now it's exposed who they really are or what this corporation really is, what this company really is. And once you see something, you can't go back. I always think of Aries energy being the head. And it's like, once you see something with your own eyes or a certain truth is revealed to you, you can't go back to who you were before you knew that, before you saw that. And just because now you're seeing this management for who they are, doesn't mean that you need to give up on the studio altogether. It's like the energy of Aries around, I'm going to fight for it. I'm going to strive to make a difference. I mean, who knows? Maybe this is a pipe dream. Right? With the energy of Neptune, thinking that the cycling studio really can change, but it's bigger than me. It's Joe, who comes to my class every Sunday. It's Marsha, who wasn't able to get through her first class, and now she's one of the top in the leaderboard every single class. Like, it's bigger than me. It's the power that my students find when they're here, the community that they find. It's bigger than me. But also me is a part of the we. Like, Aries energy is recognizing, what is the role that I play within this community, within this group, within the studio? How am I uniquely equipped to help my fellow community members? There can be an energy of this. What are the nuances where I was made to feel weird or different or unique, where that actually can be an asset towards what it is that we're creating? That also can be emphasized here. And so this new cycle we're stepping into is so much bigger than just what is occurring at 8:53 a.m. PST on Friday, February 20th, 2026. This continues to reverberate in the collective. This continues to reverberate in the cosmos. This cycle continues to build upon itself. But it is just deciding what you want to create, what you want to initiate, and who you want to be moving forward. Like, Neptune pulls in a lot of themes around self-concept. It brings in a lot of themes around mirror work or how you envision yourself. And what if you're stronger than you even realize? What if you're more powerful than you even realize? And the energy of Saturn is doing the work in order to live by that, embody that day in and day out. Where you might have a vision that you are this warrior cycling instructor who's able to advocate for your students, but your actions back that up. Your efforts back that up. And you yourself might have a vision around a certain colored pencil company that you want to start and seeing yourself as an entrepreneur, but you have the actions to back it up. You are looking out how to make an LLC, and you are setting up your colored pencil laboratory. Whatever it may be, it's having the vision, that's Neptune, and the self-concept to back up that vision with the energy of Aries, and the discipline to match. That's Saturn. Outside of that, on Friday, February 20th, the moon is in Aries all day long. It does square off with Jupiter in Cancer at 2:48 p.m. PST. So again, going to be important to mind your impulses, temper your impulses. You know, there's going to be such a focus at this time around sharpening the muscle around what's coming from instinct versus what's coming from impulse. Like what needs to be acted on right now, where you need to take action right now, where you need to let things settle. That's going to be important to chisel. Because with the Aries moon square Jupiter in Cancer, you could just kind of feel on Friday like you want to have a temper tantrum. Like you just want to stomp your feet and be like, it's not fair. Or lash out or crash out. You could feel some uncomfy emotions, just kind of want to scream a little bit. Could be an energy here. On Saturday, February 21st, I want to highlight that the Aries moon will sextile Mars in Aquarius around 3 a.m. and then align with Chiron at 4:44 a.m. PST, which pulls in an aspect that we will experience tomorrow of Mars in Aquarius sextile Chiron in Aries, which really is the energy around we are more stronger and powerful when we are together, as well as recognizing the role that we personally play as it relates to the team, even as it relates to our wounds and inadequacies. Because the energy of moon aligning with Chiron can make us feel deficient in some particular way, like we are not good enough, or again, experiencing the rawness of your daily life and comparing that to what other people put out there or the lives that it seems like other people are living. You know, Saturn on Neptune is kind of like reality checking the fantasy, so to speak, where I think with this energy of Aries, a lot of people are really craving things that are real and raw and authentic, and trusting your instincts around things that are not so. You know, a lot of the images that we are exposed to are not real. Either they're artificially generated or it's very propped up in order to convey a certain thing, in order to sell you a certain dream. And it's important not to compare projections to your raw, real life, because Moon Chiron could just be feeling not good enough or feeling flawed or insecure for the way that you are. And so the moon is void for a lot of Saturday. And if you know, you know, when the moon is void, important tasks we must avoid. But again, life has to continue lifing. Just being gentle with yourself if you're feeling a little out there, a little floaty. We are getting closer and closer to Mercury retrograde. And sometimes when the moon's void, we're just in a space of, I don't wanna. And then the moon enters Taurus at 3:31 p.m., which is an exalted placement. We have a cutie weekend in terms of exalted placements, the moon being one. And with the Taurus moon, there's a desire to ground down into the sensual pleasures of being a human. There's a desire to connect to nature, to take a long hot bath, to eat something delightful and delicious, to get ready and feel like a goddess. The Taurus moon does sextile the Pisces sun this evening. So while you're in the bath, dreaming and envisioning, the Taurus moon does square Pluto that evening, which can sometimes plunge your emotions into an intense place. Sometimes power struggles or stubbornness can be alive here. And there can be an energy around feeling a bit of a stalemate. You know, with the energy of Taurus moon, we can be very stubbornly attached to how we think things should go, or even how we think things should have gone. You know, with the square to Pluto and Aquarius and just the Aquarius solar eclipse, we're getting glimpses of the future, but we also could have recognitions, a deconstruction of the future that we were promised, or the future that we thought we were going to inhabit. And with Saturn Neptune, again, there's like a sobering look at what we've been told and sold. And so there can be an energy around having to let go of what you thought it was going to be in order to embrace how it is now and build where it's going. And it's just going to be important not to cling to what was. Like Taurus moon can find comfort and stability in what is, and with the square to Pluto, feeling things evolve and almost wanting to cling to the way that things used to be rather than to choose the new, which is really what's showing up with this astrology. On Sunday, February 22nd at 8:13 6:14 a.m. PST, Mars in Aquarius will sextile Chiron in Aries, which is a subtle yet powerful flow of energy around the healing potency of movement, of taking action. And this can show up in many different ways. Firstly, it can help within our lives. Even if we feel like we're in a stalemate, we're in a hard situation, we feel powerless over something. That can be alive with the Taurus moon having squared Pluto in Aquarius last night. Doing something can sometimes break us out of that functional freeze that we get in. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed or we feel out of control. We just freeze. We do nothing. Or we do the Pisces approach and we swim away from it. We escape it. We avoid it altogether. And this is a reminder of how healing it could be to do something, to move some sort of energy, where even if you feel out of control over the big things of your life, taking charge of the little things within your life. If there's a situation that feels frustrating at this particular moment, sometimes it's helpful to move some energy, move your body. Blow off some steam can be potent here. Also anger can be something healing, especially if you have not given yourself permission to fully feel anger. Anger can be a motivating factor to take action. Sometimes you got to get mad in order to get organized with your fellow cycling instructors and cycling students within the vibe check. Like anger can be a powerful, potent emotion if chiseled as such. It can be destructive. And so it's important to use it intentionally in that way. There also can be an energy here around just feeling the healing power that is in movement. It's going to be important to befriend challenge with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And in my mind, fitness classes, especially group fitness classes with Mars and Aquarius, can be such a powerful way to befriend challenge, to push your body and feel yourself get stronger, to be motivated by other people's strength. In my fitness classes, there are so many moments that I want to get out of the plank or to take shortcuts with the bicep curls or things like that. But then I see the people around me, my fellow regulars at my local community studio, and their strength inspires me to keep going. So you never know in a fitness class where you keeping going with your squats is inspiring people behind you. There is power in numbers, and to be strong where others are weak also. And to know that it can feel helpful to take some sort of action within your life rather than freezing or escaping or avoiding. Even if it doesn't feel like the end all be all, sometimes it can be powerful to do something, within the vibe check. It's like, I don't know if this is going to fix everything, but at least I'm doing something. And it's knowing that no action is too small. I'm believing in that. And knowing that we truly are more powerful when we work together. Today's soundtrack is, we're all in this together. It's giving very High School Musical today, because also on Sunday the 22nd, Venus in Pisces will trine Jupiter in Cancer, which is an overflow of love and compassion and artistry and beauty. This is a day to see the beauty in yourself. This is a day to see the beauty in others. This is a day to allow your heart to be an outpouring of love and compassion. This is a day to donate, to share the wealth, to share a good meal, to share the love. This is really just a very lush, sensual energy. And really celebrating the beauty in your life, celebrating the divinity in your life, celebrating the love in your life as well. This was woven in the vibe check around just looking around at the love of this community that you all have built and like feeling the power in that. There's power in love. There's power in caring about one another. Love is the most powerful force of the world, and there could just be an energy of feeling the outpouring of it, as well as feeling a lot of gratitude. Grateful heart is a magnet for blessings. And it can be an energy around being grateful for what is, knowing that things are shifting. The sacrifice that we pay for getting what it is that we desire is letting go of what was. And so it's important to bask, to be here now as we feel in this eclipse window, things evolve to where they're going. Today is a lovely day to take a picnic underneath a tree, weather permitting, based on where you are, to have a picnic. Today is a lovely day to gaze into the eyes of your beloved. Today is a lovely day to volunteer, to donate your time and energy to other people. This is a lovely day to visit someone that you love if they are in an assisted living facility, and to hear their stories and to spend time. This is an outpouring energy, and we all have different things that we're able to pour out. We all have different gifts to bestow to this planet. The best thing to do when you are feeling scarce altogether is to give what it is that you want to receive. So if you're feeling not loved, if you're feeling not appreciated, striving to love and appreciate others, oftentimes you receive that love and appreciation right back. If you're not feeling abundant around wanting a shopping spree today with the Taurus moon and Venus and Pisces trining Jupiter, but not feeling abundant enough to do so, go through your clothes, go through your makeup cabinets. That is a powerful shortcut to feeling abundant, is going through things, because you find things, oh, I haven't worn this in some time, or I haven't tried this lipstick shade, and you release the clothes that no longer align for you. You throw away the makeup that's expired. You recognize how plentiful and abundant your resources are. Sometimes we get in this trap around more without taking a moment to appreciate all that we already have. That could be very potent to do today, Sunday. And so I say all of this because the moon, exalted in Taurus, will sextile Jupiter, exalted in Cancer, at 5:56 p.m. And then sextile who it's answering to, Venus, exalted in Pisces, at 6:32 p.m. PST. So your homework assignment on Sunday is to do something lovely, to do a little beauty ritual, to give a genuine compliment, to do anything that promotes more love, beauty, peace, harmony out in the world, and also knowing that it starts with self. The more that we can do things that get us in alignment with that frequency, the more we're able to pour that out to those around us. So my loves, that is our week. Just an ordinary, typical week of astrology. But your Magic Monday mantra of the week to support you as you navigate it is, I am empowered. The Saturn Neptune alignment in Aries asks you to remember the power that you hold. The Aquarius Solar Eclipse and Venus trining Jupiter asks you to remind yourself of the power that we hold when we all work together. And it takes us embodying that ourselves to be able to be that for others, to give that to others. We cannot give to others what we do not ourselves embody. And this week, while it's a little chaotic, there's ups and downs, there's changes, it's important to strive to navigate all of them as the most empowered version of self. You've got this. So if you made it to the end of your Magic Monday podcast, go ahead and comment below the little bike emoji as our shout out to our cycling vibe check. If you got any value from this episode, as well as any other episode here on my YouTube channel or on my podcast, I would so deeply appreciate commenting, subscribing, following the podcast, reviewing the podcast. Any little bit of engagement helps me to continue to create this show each and every week. Reminder on my birthday party next Wednesday, the 25th at 12 p.m. It'll be a live stream here on YouTube, as well as on my TikTok, which is at Haley Comet Astrology. I will see you there to celebrate with you all. I'm wishing you a beautiful, powerful week. Please do not forget how powerful you are. And until we meet again, stay magical.